If your knees hurt when you're training and you're looking to fix it, then this video is for you. Hi guys, it's Ben Seong here from Learn Australian Strength Performance, or Learn ASP. Now today we'll be discussing knee pain. Specifically, the term used to describe this is runner's knee. Now you may have heard this before. However, we understand that pain in the knee is not specified just to runners, is it? If you go to the gym, if you're training, doing squats, or even if you bend down, sometimes you get knee pain. And that knee pain really can be caused from a variety of different reasons. From a medical perspective, I guess the term that is used to describe runner's knee is called patellofemoral pain syndrome. Now, it's a big word. Don't be afraid of it. Basically, it is to describe the tracking of your kneecap along the femur, which is the main bone of your thigh, and your tibia, which is the bone of your shin. Your patella, which is your kneecap, tracks up and down in a groove between your femur and your tibia. The misalignment of this tracking when the kneecap gets pulled out can cause clicking sounds, and this really is just the sign of something that is going on. The more you tend to squat, the more you bend your knees, oblivious to that clicking, this is where you start to perhaps break down the cartilage. This is where you perhaps start to cause issues within the knee and potentially knee pain to come. So today we want to look at this whole issue. Rather than working hard and pushing yourself sometimes, it's better to hold back to understand what's going on and what are the ways you can actually prevent this from happening. I will also give you 4 exercises that you can do that would help strengthen your knees, especially if you already have knee pain. So here we go, delving into runner's knee. Now before we jump to conclusions that knee pain is causing any sort of cartilage damage or permanent damage on the knees itself, we need to kind of identify exactly whether the knee pain is caused by tightness of musculature or muscle tightness. Now, typically, one thing I would like to do with a client to start off with is actually to foam roll them out. Now, you've seen numerous foam roll techniques, and I'm sure you've tried some yourself and being taught some by a range of physios and perhaps personal trainers. I often find that foam rolling techniques, though, may not be necessarily correctly done, and as a result of that, you don't get the results that you need to loosen up the fascia or the muscles itself. Now, here's a foam rolling technique that I would like you to try to identify what the issue is and whether the issue is actually caused by a breakdown of cartilage itself, which is irreparable, or it actually is the tightness of the muscle that is causing the sort of pull on the kneecap, which is what we spoke about earlier, which is your patellofemoral pain syndrome. And often this pain and the tightness of these muscles could also cause a sciatica style pain or type pain, where you might feel that there is a pain that's shooting either down your leg, the back of your leg, or your lower back. And it's like sciatica, which is a nerve impingement, but actually it is not sciatica, it's just the tightness of the muscles and the fascia. So let's start off by identifying what could be going on. Right here, I've got Tina to help me. Tina's lying on her side. Say hi, Tina. So Tina's lying on her side now. I get her to lie on her side because I want to identify whether the tightness, typically when it's any sort of a knee pain, the tightness tends to come from the musculature and the fascia on the outer side of the thigh. So right here, we want to identify that along here, there is a band, a sheath of fascia. We call it the ITB band, or the iliotibial band. And all the way up here, it goes into a tighter band and fascia running in, called your TFL, or your tensor fascia latae. So this area here is a very common area to roll out. Now, when people roll out using a foam roller, often they are taught to roll up and down and do one of these. Okay, very much like you are rolling out dough. Well, for one, stop doing that. When you foam roll, a foam roll should be a very slow process. It shouldn't be anything that is being rushed. So typically when you do a foam roll, try not to roll up and down. You really want to roll in a single direction, one direction, from the knee upwards, and this is the direction where blood flows. Okay, from the bottom it flows up. So you roll it along the blood flow, not against the blood flow. So I'll start where her kneecap is, just above the kneecap, and I'm rolling laterally on the outside to actually try to get the band, okay, the tightness here of the IT band, iliotibial band. So I will exert some pressure and I will roll up in one movement. Very, very slow and gently. As you can see, I'm not rushing anything. The goal here is to try to find any sort of adhesions or tightnesses that you can find as you roll up. So if there are adhesions or tightness, for example, everything just kind of bundles up, you'll be able to feel those knots as you roll up. Now, when you come to a particular knot, what you want to do is you want to hold on to it to allow that knot to dissipate. So don't keep rolling across it. That's not what you want. You just want to hold on to it and allow that tightness to dissipate. Now, you can start to see here, obviously you want to start off slow. Most people are going to be very, very tight. Okay, and as you start to roll out, you will feel that there is a tightness. Now, the way I can see this in Tina's leg is really looking at a face, and if a face scrunches up like she does, okay, I know that I've actually hit a spot where I need to start to roll up very slowly. Okay, so I take my time and I roll. Now, right here, and different people also have different areas of tightness, so don't assume it's always one area. Now with Tina, I'm holding that roll and I'm keeping it there. You might see a couple of tears come down. Again, those tears are real. And I do that all the way to the top. So typically what I would do, what I would advise, is that you start the roll from the knee all the way up to about the hip area. And you would take your time to do that, stopping at knots and holding on where the knots are really, really tight. Start off really lightly, and obviously if you need to go more heavy-handed, you can as well. I would go 3 times up from the knee to the hip along the lateral side. Now, sometimes knee pain can be caused by a tightness of the IT band as well as TFL. Other times, it could be caused by the quad or the lateral muscle of the quad. So what I will get Tina to do is roll to a side slightly this way, all the way back, and keep your legs this way. That's it. So now I'm exposing the lateral side of a quad, the outside of a quad. And sometimes the tightness of a quad can actually cause it. You can see she is very quad dominant. She works out quite a bit. And so her quads would definitely be tight. So I can start by looking at the tightness of her quads. Now again, same thing. I would roll up from the knee onwards, pressing on the quads. And there you can see her face again. You can start to see she's trying to keep a smile there, but it's not as simple, especially if the quads hurt. That's a genuine smile. Look at that. Oh yeah. Okay, same thing here. If I run across a knot, a tightness, I hold that until it dissipates, and you can start to see the expression on the face from manic into kind of calm for a while. Then I continue my roll. So typically it could really take even 2 minutes to roll up from the knee to the hip in one direction, then I restart again and roll up. So these are the 2 main areas that I like to focus on. Sometimes it could also be the lateral aspect of the hamstring. So if she lies on her back, sometimes it's part of the hamstrings that could be tight, and I repeat the same roll. So when you roll up to down, you probably want to do 2 to 3 times. If this person has never done it before, try not to do too much of it because you can cause inflammation as well. Now, how often would you roll out? Typically 2 to 3 times a week, especially if you're extremely tight. Please don't do it every day. You see a lot of people going to the gym and they use this on a regular basis, and if you do, you potentially could also cause inflammation by doing it too often, so you don't want to do that. All right, so understand that a tool is good to use correctly, and if you're using the tool incorrectly, like doing it really, really fast, this is not going to be effective in actually helping your knee pain. Now, the moment you start to roll out and it loosens up, you will find immediate relief in knee pain. And the way, if I get Tina to squat, for example, you start to see that her squats improve a lot more. She feels a lot more comfortable without any pain, and she's able to go through without the knees actually clicking. So this is very, very effective to start off. Now, loosening the ITB band, or the IT band and the TFL, is only the start of what she should be doing. Now, this doesn't solve the problem. The problem needs to be solved by building strength in the weakest position of the movements. Typically, it's the lowest position of the knee bend itself. So a deep squat, for example, or if you guys want to head to the video I did on split squats, that will give you a great idea on actually how to build muscles in the VMO, which is the muscle that stabilizes the knee, and that will help to increase the strength in the weakest position where the knee is being bent. Now, if you're by yourself in the gym and you don't have someone to roll out for you, then you can always do it by yourself. Now, obviously, the foam roller comes in extremely handy. Make sure that you target the same areas that I spoke about earlier. So we want to be able to target the IT band, which is the side or the fascia running to the side of the leg. So how would you do that? Now, I would position myself in this manner towards the side of my leg. Okay, so again, I'm starting here from my knees towards my hip. So I want to position myself in this manner where I can use this leg to kind of control how far or how fast I move down. I also use my hips to push down or to drive down on my thigh, because as I drive it down, I can exert more force, and that's extremely important. So I can drive down and push myself very slowly in one direction from the knee to the hip. When I hit a point where there is an adhesion or a tightness of the fascia, I hold it there until that dissipates before rolling upwards all the way to my hip. This is with the IT bend. Now, if you want to target your quads, all you got to do is flip your body slightly forward that way. And so right now you can see as I start to flip my thighs slightly forward, I start to target the lateral aspect of my quads, and I can roll in one direction from my knee all the way up and get that sorted too. So with this sort of rolling, it's more convenient because you don't need to rely on someone. However, the down point of that is when it gets too painful, you obviously lift the pressure that you exert on your own leg, and that may not be as effective in loosening the adhesions, okay? But nevertheless, it is a valid solution. Remember, roll in one direction from the knee to the hip, and take your time to roll up. Don't rush it. Please don't go over a spot and roll up and down. Roll in the direction of the blood flow. All right, so that's extremely important. Now, the first exercise that we're gonna run through in helping with runner's knee is actually called a Poliquin step-up. Okay, so a Poliquin step-up is a movement that helps to strengthen your VMO. Again, this particular movement here, and I'm gonna show you a method of actually doing it quite easily, is to use a plate propped up at the edge of something, so you actually get a bit of a height. Now, the way you want to perform the Poliquin step up is with your heels elevated. So what you want to do is elevate your heels on something that can prop it up. Now, some gyms may have a wedge that you can actually use. I want to give you an option where you don't have a wedge and you might have a plate. So what you do is this. The working foot, firstly, is facing forward. You want to turn the working foot out at about 25 degrees. Okay, so turn the walking foot out 25 degrees. Then what you want to do is extend your other foot and tap it forward that way and bring it up again. Okay, so the movement is as simple as this. It is drop down, tap your heels, bring it up, drop down, tap your heels, bring it up, drop down, tap your heels. Notice that my knees are actually consistently tracking above my toes. So I don't want to twist my knees in or turn my knees in. My knees track above my toes and my body is facing forward. All right, so my body is facing forward, track, up, up. Okay, so the movement should be this, up, tap, up, tap, up. As with the Poliquin step up, the main muscle that you should feel this exercise in is your VMO. And your VMO, again, is the teardrop muscle. If I flex it down here, you can see this teardrop muscle, which helps to stabilize the knees. Now, the movement in this case helps to work the upper fibers of the VMO. So perform this particular movement. It's a very simple movement. You want to get about 20 reps per leg. You might do 3 sets of that. Now, the second exercise that I'm going to introduce to you guys is a movement that is a progression of the Poliquin step up that we spoke about, exercise number 1. This is called the Peterson step up. The Peterson step up has a very similar setup like the Poliquin step up. You find a raised platform where you can put your active foot. The foot, again, is twisted out at 25 degrees. Your knee tracks over your toe. The setup is very similar, except that your heels, it's not being propped up against a wedge or a plate. In fact, your heels are freestanding like that. So this exercise, as you can see, will require a lot more coordination and for someone who has stronger VMO muscles. Now this is how it's done. Heels are as high as you can, prop yourself backwards, up and drop. Up, drop. Exercise number 3 is a front-on strict step-up. Now, most of you think you're doing a step-up correctly, but when you're doing a step-up, the goal is to be able to activate the front foot, the one on the step, and not your rear foot. How many of you can actually do a step-up without pushing off? That is the real question. In a strict step-up, you choose a height that is of a suitable height for yourself, meaning you don't actually have to use your back foot to push you off, to generate any sort of momentum to get you up. In a strict front-on step-up, essentially what you want to do when you step up is allow your knees to pass your toes, very much like when you're stepping up stairs. You don't really step upstairs where your knees are behind your toes. You allow your knees to go past your toes and you push off in a step-up. Now, the force that I'm generating in this is really from the quad, that is the active foot on the step. My rear foot is not working at all, really. I see it as a dead weight. So I'm pushing off from this foot, straight up, and I'm letting myself down. Again, pushing off from this foot, straight up, letting myself down. And learning to control that movement down is extremely important as well. Pressing off from this foot, this is the dead weight, up, and letting yourself down. Now, watch me if I'm doing this and I'm pushing off and you see how fast I actually accelerate up. You know that someone's cheating when they're doing that because they're using their rear foot to accelerate them. So in a strict step up, allow your knees to go past your toes. That's completely fine. Try to press from the mid-foot. That's what you're aiming for. And use your front quad as the main driver of this movement. Drive, step up, balance yourself, let yourself down slow. If you're doing a body weight step up, aim for 12 to 15 reps per leg for 2 to 3 sets. Exercise number 4 that we're going to talk about is one of my favorite movements, and you've probably seen me do a whole heap of exercises on this, and that is the trusty Prowler. One of the reasons why I like a Prowler is because the Prowler is such a functional piece of equipment, and the movement working against the resistance of the Prowler against the floor is one that actually carries over into daily life. Now, when you get any sort of knee pain or knee injury, sometimes it is great to be able to use the Prowler to incorporate your movements into more integrated movements like what you do on a daily basis. The great thing about a Prowler as well is that the movement of a Prowler push only contains the concentric part of a movement, not the eccentric. So for those of you that don't know, the concentric part of any sort of a movement is the muscular contraction, and the eccentric is the muscular elongation or extension. So if you see a bicep curl, for example, to curl the bicep up this way, to contract the muscles, is your concentric. Your eccentric is letting it down. Now, your eccentric phase of a movement is a movement that is known to create more micro trauma, damage, and it could potentially damage the muscle more in pain. So when you're doing this particular movement, there is no eccentric component. There is only a concentric. You're moving forward, and when you stop, you don't have to resist the Prowler coming back. You just stop where it is. And because that is the way it is, you are able to get a workout in without over-taxing or over-tearing your muscle, creating unnecessary micro-trauma. Especially if you've got any sort of knee pain, you don't want to be doing that to begin with. So I find that this is a really good exercise that rehab patients can also use. Very, very effective to integrate them back into strength and movement patterns before you actually load them up on an exercise that involves a concentric and an eccentric phase. So exercise number 4 is Prowler pushes. How would you do that? You might start off with Prowler marches, doing it nice and slow, just watching that as you're driving, your knees are not hurting. And obviously, you want to maintain that your hips are stable as you're doing this. Again, once you get more stable in your knees and your knees are not hurting, this is where you can start to accelerate the prowler and actually get your runs in and push. Now, as a summary, we went through a lot today. I think the most important things that you do need to take away today is understanding how to foam roll correctly. I think that could be a game changer for most of you to identify what exactly is wrong, whether your knee pain is actually caused by an actual cartilage damage, or is it a tight IT band or a tight TFL or tight quads, which you could rectify the issue just with appropriate foam rolling. Now, we also went through 4 useful exercises and step-up variations that you can use to help strengthen the VMOs in different positions to overcome knee pain. So I really hope this video has been useful and you can use it to help yourself and someone that you know with knee pain. Well, I look forward to seeing you again in our next video, but do remember to subscribe, to like, and to send us your comments after you've tried this out. See you soon.